What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Year Hustling Podcast. Of course, I am Patrick, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 21 of the Year Hustling Podcast. We're down to the three amigos here this evening. We can also call us the Over 40 Club. We can't just call us the 40 Club because I just found out that Eric is old as dirt. So the Over 40 Club here this evening. And speaking as old as dirt, Eric, how you doing, brother? How you been?
You know what? Old as dirt. I guess that's going to be my name, huh?
Well, I mean, you've got other names. You've got other names that we could talk about too. I mean, if you'd like us to get into those, that's fine. But
no, I like the topic that we have going on now. We'll talk about me being as old as dirt later. I'm doing
That's
good.
right.
I'm doing good.
Good, man.
James just brought me, up to school on some history that I didn't know about today. According to
Yeah.
James, I was around when Jesus went 6 for 6, but I had to correct him and let him know 6 for 6 in baseball. But I had to let him know that Jesus didn't go 6 for 6. Jesus pitched a no hitter. Moses went 6 for 6.
Got it. Speaking of baseball, how are your Detroit Tigers doing?
Unfortunately, they have been eliminated, but it was
Oh,
a surprising run to the playoffs. So we're very proud of the Tigers. We've got the future Cy Young Award winner in our camp, and I think we're going to be loaded and bared up for next year.
hey, I'd rather watch grass grow than watch baseball. So there you are. Speaking of things I'd rather watch than James. Here we go. No, that I screwed that up. Damn it. I think we might have lost him. He's having some connectivity issues, I believe. Also, while we're waiting for James to point out, I want to point out to the many followers and viewers that we have that I may be pulling one of these back and forth as we have the Buffalo Sabres game in the background. Of course, by Fox News on the side. Got to have that as well. So Buffalo Sabres playing the Pittsburgh Penguins this evening into the third period. They're just getting started. 3-3. So until we get our host back, I guess we can just kind of start and jump into the conversation. Is that what we're going to do, Eric?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
All right, man. So we're talking about sports, right? I think that's kind of what we're doing here. And we wanted to bring up a couple of fun things within the sports world. Each of us kind of came up with their own idea of a top sports moment. We wanted to make it as recent as we possibly could, hence the joke about Eric knowing when Jesus walked and all that kind of fun stuff. So we needed to bring him to the forefront of the 21st century. So without any further ado, Eric, what you got for top sports moment in this year? What you got?
My top sports moment was when the Michigan Wolverines won the national championship. Now, the reason why I think that that's such a top moment is because throughout the 2023-2024 college football year, then Coach Jim Harbaugh was suspended for 6 games for various NCAA violations. It was like a Michigan versus everybody's mentality. There were some really close games that Michigan played, but despite all of the stuff that happened with the NCAA, with the suspensions and the scrutiny, Michigan pulled it off and they won the national championship. So, to the players that played on that team, the coaching staff, the athletic director, and the fans, everybody around the state of Michigan threw their full weight and support behind the Michigan Wolverines march to the national championship. So I think that that was incredible. Unfortunately, it also wound up leading to Jim Harbaugh not wanting to coach at Michigan anymore because of all of the bull, and he wind up coaching the LA Chargers. I think, yeah, it is the LA
Mm-hmm.
Chargers. But yeah, I just think that that was just such an incredible story that everybody rallied and supported around their coach, and the fact that they won the national championship. It kind of reminded me of what happened with the whole Deflategate thing, and Tom Brady wind up getting suspended, but later on they wind up winning a Super Bowl. So I think those two stories have similar outcomes.
But the question that I would have to you, and obviously we see the face of the show returning. That is a face. I wouldn't say it's a good one, but it is one.
It's a face.
Welcome back, James.
That's
Thanks for that.
That's not Shay.
Yeah. So we're just kind of jumping in here a little bit, and so the question that I would have about the national championship though is, Was he guilty though? Did he earn those suspensions? Do you think he really had that knowledge, Eric? What do you think?
You know what?
Or
It's
plausible
really
deniability? What are you looking at?
it's really hard to say. Some of the stuff I think that he may have known about it. I don't think that he directly communicated, "Hey, go and spy on other teams." But you know what? Like other coaches, retired coaches were saying, is that there was always been some sort of a scouting, that has been done in college football. So
Yeah.
was it against the
Two wrongs
rules?
don't make a right, my friend. Two
Yeah,
wrongs
but
don't make a right.
right, but they do make a left though.
Well, about a million wrongs probably do make a right, though, because as you said, it's so prevalent in college football and all
And
that other kind of stuff.
And you know what? There's always some sort of scouting. There's always some sort of film. So did it really give Michigan a competitive advantage? Not sure. If it was against the rules, then I think something should have happened short of him being suspended 2 times in one season. I think that that was a bit much. But from what I
Twice
understand
in
during
one
the event,
season.
yeah, and twice in one season, and always right before a crucial game. And to me, it just seems like that the Big Ten in particular, I'm sorry, the NCAA didn't suspend him. It was the Big Ten that suspended him for his own conference to suspend him twice. And then to hear that a lot of the other coaches in the Big Ten were putting pressure on the Big Ten commissioner, I just think that that was wrong. To be honest with you, I think
Yeah.
that the punishment was too severe.
Interesting. Well, I'm just going to kind of facilitate this. I'm going to bring James in here first. You're a big Michigan guy. It's all over your shirt. So I'm kind of interested in your opinion here on Eric's top sports moment. Obviously, Michigan Wolverines winning the national championship. Is Harbaugh guilty? Did he deserve that? Did he earn those sanctions and suspensions, James?
I mean, I caught most of what you guys were saying, and I too believe that all coaches in some kind of way steal signs. Heck, that's what the Houston Astros went through in Major League Baseball. But honestly, what is stealing signs? If we're at a game and I'm watching, the tendencies of another team, is that stealing signs? If I'm watching what they're signaling on the sideline and I make a mental note of it and I see it again, is that stealing signs? Where I think there's wrong and miss miss whatever word I'm looking for, where there's wrong at is the one coach who dressed as a coach for another organization and went to their practice. That's
He was
definitely where
guilty.
it's
Oh yeah, at
he's
sin.
guilty.
He was.
There's no
Yeah,
debate
he's
on that.
guilty.
Sin.
Now the question is, did Harbaugh know about that?
And how do you
Plausible
prove something like
deniability.
that? How do you prove
How do you
something like
prove
that?
it exactly? Because you know
Yeah.
what, he could easily say like, "Hey, I don't know how you got this information. I don't need to know. Don't tell me. But thanks for the information, coach."
Right.
So I don't know. It's hard for me to say yes, he's guilty. I don't think he's any more guilty or any less guilty than other coaches who learn tendencies.
But is he responsible though? Okay, so does his guilt may not be firsthand, but I'll pass this back to Eric because I'm curious too. His guilt may not be firsthand, being directly involved, but as the head coach and anybody underneath him for any kind of delinquencies or interesting things like that, he should be held liable. Yes, Eric. No, Eric. What do you think? I mean, if somebody in his staff is cheating, is he the one that should be held liable still?
He should be held responsible but not liable, if that makes any sense. It really depends on when he found out, if he found out at all. If he found out and he could have did something to stop it, then he should be held liable and responsible. If it's something that he found out after the fact, but then he reported it, say, to the athletic director or the Big Ten commissioner's office, then no. But if he didn't know, he
Yeah.
didn't know. But if he did know, then yeah, he definitely deserved those 2 suspensions.
But James, as the head of the program, is Harbaugh responsible for his, subsequent staff decisions?
I definitely think he is ultimately. You figure if the special teams gives up a touchdown to lose the national championship game, the special teams guys are going to be fired. Maybe the head coach, depending on exactly what's going on. So ultimately, he is responsible. So I can't be mad about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got one last question for Eric on his top sports moment of the year, of course, being Michigan Wolverines. So I'm not a huge college guy, as you can tell. You know, I'm a pro guy, 4-2. Let's go Mafia. All right. So when I hear conversation about the Michigan Wolverines, it's not really a technical conversation. It's more kind of in passing when I'm joking with you two goofballs. What do you say to somebody that would say, all right, yeah, Michigan won the championship, but there's an asterisk next to it? What do you say to somebody like that, Eric, that says, yeah, you're champions, but it's an asterisk?
I don't think it is, because here's the thing.
I didn't ask you if you thought it was. I asked what you would say to somebody who does.
What I would say is this: the coach was suspended twice. They still won. There is no asterisk, because you thought that there was an infraction. You penalized the coach. You thought there was a second infraction. You penalized the coach again, and they still won.
But they still have the information. They still had the information. It's not like they took the information away, or they still had the competitive advantage, is what I'm saying.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Those were infractions that they found as far as past games, before it led up to the meat of the schedule, before we played Ohio State, before we played Washington, before we played Alabama. So those were for past infractions. Those weren't for, it's not like they found out like after the fact that they cheated during the playoffs or they cheated during the Big Ten championship. Those were for past infractions. So that wasn't
what matters. So in your opinion, it matters when you're cheating as well as how you cheat.
Look, whatever you say, buddy.
I love. Listen, dude, I'm just playing. Listen, I'm just playing devil's advocate. And I like to paint people into corners. You did good, Eric. You did good.
Hey, look, to quote the late great Eddie Guerrero, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. No,
all right. I'll give that to you, James. What do you think? Last point on this one. Asterisk to. What do you say to somebody that says, yeah, you won, but you cheated?
Games won on the field. So I look at it this way. Harbaugh started the season off suspended the first 2, 3, 4 games, something like that. So fine. Those games, I can understand someone possibly making an argument, first game of the season, that Michigan had a competitive advantage against them. But who the heck did they play? It was a cupcake. I don't remember who it was. I could pull it up really quick, but I don't want to hold us up. It was a cupcake. Michigan was going to win regardless. Towards the end of the season, when he got his second suspension, the first game was against Penn State. Someone could possibly argue maybe they wouldn't have won that game because Penn State was a tough team. Maybe, with the knowledge they had. Well, supposedly you already had the knowledge that he had the knowledge. So why would you go in with the same game plan that he possibly has the information to? That just doesn't make sense. So that Penn State game, whatever game came next, ended up being Ohio State. There were several weeks that teams had to change anything if they felt like Michigan had the information. The game is played on the field. The game is won on the field. Michigan won, undefeated. Cue the band. Dun, 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 dun.
And Michigan played Ohio. Michigan played Ohio State. I'm sorry, Michigan played Penn State November 11th, and they won 24-15 at Michigan.
Damn it. Sorry. I'm sorry. Pittsburgh just scored over Buffalo. Something about some big milestone. Okay. Yeah. So in other words, players play, coaches coach, and games are played and won and lost on the field. All right. I can buy it. All right, James, what you got? You got something in mind for your moment?
I do. I'm like you said, I'm a state of Michigan fan. I like everything from the state. Lions, Tigers, Pistons,
the drinking water.
The drinking water, not from Flint, Detroit. Detroit's awesome drinking water. However, my biggest moment in sports this year had to be September 28th this year, University of Alabama versus University of Georgia football game. It was an amazing game. If you like offense, it did not disappoint. If you like defense, it kind of disappointed you, but it was a great game nonetheless. I'm a defensive guy. So I wanted to pull something up here to take a look just so I could be accurate here. Alabama jumped out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. They were spanking those puppies' asses. I can say asses, right? In the second quarter, they started off with a touchdown. So they went up 28-0. Looked like they were just going to run away with it. Well, Georgia finally kind of turned it on a little bit. Going into the fourth quarter, the score was 33-15. Alabama was up. So once again, Alabama firmly in control. Well, what did Georgia do? They scored a touchdown, 33-21. They missed the two-point conversion. They score a touchdown 4 minutes later, 33-28. Brand new ball game. They kicked the extra point. It's good, 33-28. They got another touchdown 3 minutes later to take the lead. First time all game, 34-33. They missed the two-point conversion. One play, 67 yards. How does Alabama respond? Only with a 75-yard touchdown pass, one play to a 17-year-old wide receiver to go up 41-34. Georgia had 2 minutes and 18 seconds to go in the game to drive down the field to try to score, and they were unsuccessful. It was a wonderful game. How did Alabama respond? Before we go to that, how did Georgia respond? They came back, they took care of business, they rebounded, they won. Alabama, on the other hand, they lost to Vanderbilt. Whole nother story. But that game, Georgia versus Alabama, was a great game this year.
Heard. So, and again, I'm not a huge college guy, but there's been a big change in college football. Okay. Not just in the 12-team college playoff, but more specifically in the College of Alabama, too. I mean, going from Nick Saban to DeBoer, is that his name? I think it is. I don't know his first name. But so have you noticed, I don't know how closely you follow Alabama football itself, but what has there been a drop off? Like, is it a different team? Is it the same team as coached by Nick Saban? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to how many guys they lost because Saban left. I know some guys decommitted when Saban left. Some guys recommitted back, like Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old wide receiver phenom. He instantly decommitted when Saban retired. When the new coach came in, the first thing he did was went down to Ryan Williams' home and was like, "Hey, I need you on this team," and he got him. So I'm sure there's other players as well. Is there a drop off? Maybe, but it's still University of Alabama, right? They're going to have a squad. Jalen Milroe, the quarterback, he's awesome. He's amazing. All year, you pretty much heard his name linked to Heisman Trophy finalists. So they have a great team. I don't feel this was the only Alabama game I saw all year. I don't feel they have the same defense that they've had in years past, but also they've had a lot of guys that graduated and left early to go to the pros. They're not playing at University of Alabama's campus because they're all in Philadelphia playing with the Eagles. So
that is a lot of defensive linemen. Yeah.
Yes. So I can't, and the offensive guys is playing in Detroit. So as well as some Detroit guys. I'm sorry, defensive guys. But I do think they've lost some key people, of course, but they're still Alabama. Still going to be a great team.
Eric, I gotta ask you about this. Okay, so I would say so. Coaching traditions, you don't really have many coaching traditions in Detroit. I don't know. Maybe you do, but you talk about a coaching tradition of Nick Saban in Alabama. What kind of advice do you give a new coming coach like Caleb DeVore's coming in after Nick Saban? How do you fill a shoes like Nick Saban?
You know what? Alabama has had really two coaches that I knew of outside of the new guy now. I remember when Paul Bear Bryant used to coach Alabama.
Of course you do.
Paul Bear Bryant. Shut up. You know what? Fuck you, Josh Allen. Anytime that you're not Paul Bearer, Paul Bear Bryant.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the Undertaker's dad or something. Didn't they say it was his dad?
Yeah, I think he's been dead 10 years. So come on, man, get up with the times.
Loved him.
But I did too. But anytime that you're following behind a legendary coach, there's always that stigma of you're not coaching like Nick Saban, Paul Bryant. It's tough for anybody coming behind him. So the only way that you really combat that is you find a legendary coach. I kind of disagree when you get a coach of a of a not as successful program. Now I understand the current Alabama coach has like a really decent win-loss record, but
Yeah,
coming
he was at
behind,
Washington before, wasn't he? I think he was at Washington before.
Went to the
yeah,
national championship,
yeah,
and he had a winning record even before that. So he's
yeah,
got
he
a
did.
winning
Now,
record.
he's got a winning record. He's a successful coach, but let's just be honest here. There's a big difference between coaching at Washington than it is coaching at Alabama. The Michigan coach is going through the same thing, even though the current Michigan coach was the defensive coordinator. Was he the defensive coordinator or
Offensive
offensive
line.
coordinator? The offensive line. Even though he coached that team when Harbaugh was going through his suspensions, that was still a Jim Harbaugh program that was put together, and he just happened to be the recipient of experienced seniors. Now, Michigan is having a decent season right now. We expect them to lose maybe 4, possibly 5 games because of their schedule, and they don't have a lot of upperclassmen like they've had over the last couple of years. But man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him for the next couple of years, to be honest with you, because the expectation is for Alabama to have like one loss or maybe go undefeated like every year. That's what Saban, did. So
That's what he did.
it's going to be tough for him. It's probably going to take another year before he actually recruits his guys, because you figure there's still going to be some underclassmen that Saban had recruited. We really can't get a true gauge on how successful this guy is going to be, I think, for another couple of years.
That's a good point. And speaking of James, I'm going to go back to you, James, too, about Nick Saban. I've been kind of getting into College Game Day a little bit, mainly because I'm a huge Pat McAfee fan. And yeah, shout out Pat McAfee. If you're watching this show, big fan. But that'd be pretty awesome if Pat McAfee was watching this show. I'm gonna be honest with you. Next thing you'll know, you'll see us like highlighted on his show. Anyways,
I'll call him.
You got him on speed dial.
Yeah.
So speaking of college game day, Nick Saban now a regular guy on College Game Day. I have found Nick Saban extremely entertaining, alongside Pat McAfee. Obviously, like the two of them are so polar opposites in a whole bunch of ways, but they meet in the middle sometimes, which is really kind of cool. There was one time where McAfee's like feeding him a tomahawk steak, like on live TV. It's funny stuff. So my question to you: do you like James? Do you like Saban better as a commentator or a coach?
Oh, definitely coach.
Really?
I'm not feeling him on game day, at all. I mean, he's okay. He definitely brings knowledge of the game, of course, but he has not grown on me yet on game day.
He's done coaching, right? Has he said that he's done coaching?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I don't see him going back.
Yeah, Eric, you got any comments about Nick Saban on College Game Day or anything like that?
I think he's entertaining. He's grown on me. I knew he had a little bit of a sense of humor when they started. Him and Deion Sanders started doing those Aflac commercials. Yeah, you would go you go on YouTube and you can catch some of the bloopers. But yeah, Nick Saban definitely has a personality. He's kind of straight-laced, obviously, when he's coaching because it's all about business. But I heard that Nick Saban definitely, has a stoic type of sense of humor. Now, who I'm really interested in, to be honest with you, whether or not they're going to be coaching again is Belichick. Maybe we'll say that for a little bit more. But watching Belichick on TV has been entertaining. The way he dissects, offense, defense, and special teams. So, man, I get a blast out of watching Belichick. And probably you guys should probably watch Belichick maybe to help you with your Madden game.
Him and Peyton Manning have developed a pretty cool breakdown show and stuff like that. But I want to go back to James. You had something quick on the Alabama's new coach.
Yeah, and actually I want to touch on something else you said too, Patrick. But Eric said, and I believe I am going to quote you correctly here, that he has a pretty good win-loss record, Caleb DeBoer. Is that correct, Eric?
Yes,
pretty
sir.
good.
Pretty good. All right. So, Patrick, as the resident educator here, would you say 89% was pretty good, excellent, trash? What would you call that?
That's definitely above average. It's definitely above average.
Trash.
Maybe 89% sucks like Sam LaPorta. That's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, Eric.
Don't worry. Eric, she doesn't watch this show either, so it's okay.
Eric,
he might after this.
But yeah. Caleb DeBoer has a win-loss record of 109-13. Whoa. I would definitely say that's pretty damn good. So just FYI on that. Yeah, 109-13.
Hey, he's not undefeated, so I would say, hey, he's not 90%, so that's pretty good. That's a B. That's a B plus.
Okay.
or
Okay.
A-, I guess, depending on your
Did you ever see any of those letter grades? I'm curious because you act like that's. I mean,
I've seen both. Hell,
wow.
I've seen all of them at one point or the other, good, bad, and ugly.
Okay. There you
Now,
go.
Patrick, I want to come to you on something. You asked about coaching tradition, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to address that. So, if we talk about some of the coaches that's come through the state of Michigan, we're talking
Okay.
about Bo Schembach. We're talking about Sparky Anderson. We're talking about Chuck Daly. We're talking about some. We do have some pretty. Oh, we have Tom Izzo. We have some pretty
Scotty
rich.
Bowman for the Red Wings.
Scotty Bowman. Yes, I was going to say him. I forgot about
Okay.
him. Yes, thank you.
I've heard of
So we-
I've heard of Tom Izzo and Scotty Bowman.
So Sparky Anderson for a while. I don't know if this
Sparky.
still is the case. Yep, Sparky Anderson. He was the only manager in MLB history to win a World Series in the AL and the NL. I don't know if that's still a fact or not. But yeah, he won in Detroit in '84. Chuck Daly won back-to-back championships with the Pistons, '89 and '90. Bo Schembachler, dare I say, he put Michigan football on the map. You know, they were a great organization prior to him, but he really took them to a different level. So we've definitely had some rich history in the state of Michigan. And Eric, to you, Bear Bryant, you mentioned.
Yeah, Paul Bear Bryant.
Eric
Neighbor scored.
Bear Bryant coached at University of Alabama from 1958 to 1982. Eric is the only one on this show that could speak on Bear Bryant and his coaching record. So
Right,
kudos
because
to you, old
it's
man.
closer back towards the time of Jesus. Yeah,
Yes.
that's where he
Who
knows.
threw a no-hitter? Who threw a no-hitter?
Threw a no. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he said Jesus threw a no-hitter, but Moses went 6 for 6 in the World Series. That's what he said.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
That's all I
right,
had.
so-
Sorry, guys.
No, that's all right. So it comes to me now, right? For
Yes.
greatest sports moment.
Yes.
Okay, so
It comes in you now.
So gonna leave that one there and gonna keep moving on. So you would think that if you give me he scored again. Woo! 5-4 Buffalo. We were just down 4-3 and now we're 5-4. Okay. Sorry.
Is this regular season already?
It is.
Yeah,
It's like game like what, 4 or 5 of the regular season.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Okay, that's not
Sabres
long.
Sabres are up 5-4. Okay. Anyways, so now when they ask me to come up with a top sports moment, I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure the 7 people that are going to see this are going to say, "Oh, he's going to say something about Buffalo," and to be honest, I really wanted to. I felt like it was appropriate, expected, but every once in a while, I like to throw a curveball. So I'm not going to talk about Buffalo in this segment. Maybe another one, but not this segment. Okay. So, greatest sports moment. Listen, you got to talk about, when you talk about great sports moments, you have to talk about great sporting events. All right. You're talking about, all of the major league sports. Awesome. But when you start talking about the Olympics, all right, you're talking about the most talented people in the world, not just the talented people in the NFL or the MLB or whatever, man. We're talking about the most talented people in the world. And one of the goats, or if not the only goat, and she actually wears a little goat necklace around her neck. I saw that. Simone Biles returned to international competition this past Olympics, dude. And if I can recall, and I don't have I do have a laptop where I could look stuff up, but James, while I'm talking, if you don't mind, take a look at some of her statistics that she came out. I know she was very successful. I'm pretty sure she came around with like an all-around gold and walked around with many, many gold medals. But first of all, I want to talk about why she took a break in the first place. And she took a break in the first place, and I believe she withdrew from the 2020 Tokyo Olympics because she was dealing with an injury and all different kinds of stuff. But she took time off to deal with her mental health. And I thought that was really kind of a strong thing to do, to be able to recognize maybe that you're struggling, or to recognize that something's not right, and to really prioritize what's right in her life and what's needed in her life. And I think, so I give her huge props for focusing on herself and making the changes and the things that she needs to do, and then returning to the Olympics and putting on a show. Did I stall long enough for you to pull up the stats, James?
Well, kind of. So
I heard you typing.
So I wanted to look up two things. I wanted to look up how many medals she won in Paris and how many she has total.
Okay.
So in Paris, it looks like she has 4 medals, 3 of which was gold.
Okay.
Overall, she has a total of 11 medals, 7 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. So she's done pretty well for herself.
Yeah, or as Eric would say, pretty good. You know,
she's pretty good.
pretty good. No, I mean, listen, but it takes a strong person to identify that they're struggling, okay, and an even stronger person to prioritize themselves over something that is, going to make her millions of dollars and all this fame and all this fortune and all that stuff. And so I really look at the person here, and I really look at, how cool of a person she is and the ability to be able to prioritize her own health, and then to be able to make those adjustments and then come back to kick ass as much as she has, I think is kind of cool. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Simone Biles, Eric, what do you think?
Well, I definitely agree with you there. Mental health is such an underrated component of any sport or even any career, just period, because we can look at this magnificent athlete on the outside, all of the incredible things that she does, but the mental discipline that it takes in order to maintain that type of greatness. In addition, Simone Biles, she's also a wife too. And so there's another component in all of the other responsibilities that she has outside of being an athlete. So when you take all of those things into consideration, it's a struggle for an everyday person, to be a spouse. I don't believe she has any kids yet, but there's just a lot of stuff going on, people pulling at you from all different directions. And then the amount of discipline that it takes, not to just be the best, in your country, not just even being the best in the world, but when you think of all female athletes across the board, you have to put her in the Mount Rushmore of all time great female athletes, because to win that many medals, she's 27 years old, which is considered old for a gymnast. She's competing against people that are literally like 10, 12 years her junior. And then to be able to perform at that level, and it really didn't even seem like there was any drop off of her performance. As a matter of fact, she pulled out some things in the Olympics that nobody had ever done before. And I think that
she's got she's got like 9 or 7 or 8 different moves that are labeled the Simone Biles. Like she's the only person in the world that can do them.
Exactly. And there is an outside possibility with the Olympics being in Los Angeles that she may consider competing in the Olympics in LA. But the fact that she's been so dominant for so long, and then she's leaving out on her terms, that's a remarkable thing.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And she is married to she's married to, I believe, a Chicago Bears football player. So you're talking about Packer, or maybe it's a Packer. Yeah, maybe
he left Packers. Didn't he leave the Packers and went to the Bears, or Bears?
I don't know. One of the two.
Well, either way, she's married to a football player.
But my point with that being, though, too, is that makes it even more difficult, because now you're talking about 2 professional athlete schedules. You're talking about trying to make a marriage work and doing all the things, and then having so many different things pulling you in so many directions. I mean, I here, let's give Simone Biles a round of applause. Okay. No, you're supposed to go around for applause. Right. Thank you. Try and keep up. James, you got anything to comment on about Simone?
Yeah, Eric kind of touched on one thing I was going to say. I looked at numbers. In the 2020 Olympics, the average age of a medal winner was 20.6 years old. In 2024, the average for a U.S. women's gymnast team was 22.4 years old. She's 27. Oh, wow. She's an old lady when it comes to gymnastics.
She's the OG, yeah.
She really is. So kudos to her for that. As far as the mental health, aspect, let's be real, guys. Can you imagine, first of all, doing anything when you're having a mental health breakdown is troubling, is difficult.
Getting out of bed.
You're talking about getting out of bed, exactly. But now you're talking about flipping and doing all these things in midair. She says I wish I would have known you were going to talk about it, because I would have been prepared for it. But in the last Olympics, she said, in 2020 Olympics in 2021, she says she has something, I forgot what it's called, but when she flips, things didn't look normal to her. It was
Like
almost like
vertigo or
being dizzy,
something.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like that's dangerous.
Yeah.
You one wrong move, you don't have a safety net. One wrong move, we're talking about a whole different kind of situation for her. So kudos to her.
Definitely the sport that she competes in, your head has to be in it. It
Oh
definitely
yeah.
has to you definitely
Oh
have
yeah.
to have mental focus. You definitely have to have focus to practice, focus to to do that. And at her elite level, any kind of a lack of focus could be extremely dangerous. And I think is what your point is, I think.
Yes, and think about if she does pull it off, but she doesn't perform the way we're used to Simone Biles performing. Now she's getting criticized for that. So you just can't win. You just can't. 'Cause people criticized her for backing out, and you're letting your country down, and all this, that, and the other. Whatever.
I'm
The
with you, man.
twisties.
I'm with you.
Shay bailed me out. The
Twisties. There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
I couldn't even think
I
of
remember
something as
telling her.
simple as that. The
Thank you,
twisties.
Shay.
Thank you, Shay.
That's what.
Patrick,
Hey, that's the good woman behind a good man.
Patrick,
Now,
one
great
thing that I
woman
wanna
behind
point-
a okay guy.
That's what I was trying to, but it came out fumbled. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Eric.
You gave him
Can
too
I-
much credit.
I want to point something out too, that despite the fact that Simone Biles ended the 2020 Olympics early, she still walked out of there with two medals, a silver and a bronze. And this is Simone Biles being off her game.
Yeah.
And she
I
only
mean
competed.
that in itself.
Yeah. It's
Can you imagine? Can you imagine just the mental strength it had to say, listen, guys, I can't do this anymore. Like, and to prioritize herself. Like, and I'm giving her credit for that. Honest to God, I really am, because that's not something that had to have been an easy decision, and I don't know if it was fully injury related or how it was, but props to her.
Like I said,
that's what
mental
I got.
health is kudos to her. And I can't remember the young lady who was playing tennis a couple of years ago that kind of bailed out and did the same thing too. But Simone Biles and the young lady,
Coco. Wasn't it Coco?
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Coco Jones.
I mean,
This just reminded. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, just kudos for them, putting themselves first, because at the end of the day, yeah, they're getting paid a lot of money, but you know what? It's entertainment. It's sports.
Right.
And
What
Coco Golf, not Jones. My bad. Coco Golf. Coco Jones is a singer. That was me.
that's okay.
That's better than Coco Beware, the WWF
Yeah.
superstar.
Yes. Frankie.
So,
Can we stay
what about?
focused?
No.
Oh,
Okay. So one
we
last
all
thing on
were
the
wrong.
Olympics. Naomi Osaka.
Thank
Great.
you.
One more
Thank you,
thing on
Shay.
the Olympics. Tell me about. There was one more controversial thing that happened in the Olympics. Whatever happened with our third place medal, bronze medal? Was it Childs, or do you guys know what I'm talking about? There was a she originally won the medal, and then they put in like a complaint, and then they reversed it and gave the third place medal to like an Italian chick. And then they overturned it and gave it, and they're trying to make her give it back or something.
So I think they gave it to another country. And Shay, you told me about this, so correct me if I'm wrong. They gave it to another country. They disqualified them, gave it to one of our athletes, and then they took it back to that other country, appealed or something. Yeah, I know exactly. I don't have no clue what happened with that.
It was the other girl. I think it was Childs, maybe. I don't know. But she.
Yes, Jordan Childs. Yes,
Jordan Childs. Yeah. So she, she apparently they were disqualified or something, and then they put like they challenged the play or something. I guess they challenged like a scoring thing, but like that the timing was after a minute. I was reading something about it, and there's this huge it's in like lawyers' hands about is she going to have to give the bronze medal back. Is there any update that you can find on that, James? I'm just really curious. Sorry to throw you on the spot, but
no, you're good. I'm skimming. Jordan Childs, Shay just confirmed. Finally, we got one right. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
So last thing I see in September of this year, September 17th, her and her legal team submitted an appeal to the Swiss Federal Supreme Court.
The Swiss have a Supreme Court?
Yeah.
I thought they were neutral on everything. What do they need anybody to make decisions for?
Maybe they're not going to ever make a decision. So I don't see an update. This is the last thing I see is from September.
Still like an arbitration, probably, or still in
Yeah.
negotiation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was just curious if you guys knew anything more about that, because I know that was a big issue with the Olympics as well. Hey, speaking of Olympics, can we talk about Snoop? When did Snoop Dogg become like mainstream? Like, wasn't he a crypt back in the day? Like, what the hell happened? How is he on NBC being flown to Paris and being like, what? Anybody?
You're not cultured, sir. When is he mainstream? When has he not been mainstream?
What exactly? What is the thing
mean-
with Snoop? Snoop is a very charitable person. So a lot of times, what Snoop will do is that Snoop will back athletes that don't have enough money to do whatever to prevent them from performing in the Olympics. There was this one young lady, and I forgot what sport she was in. She was just on social media talking about she needs to pay her rent or something to that extent, and Snoop saw it. So Snoop said, "Hey, DM me," and whatever bills that she had, he took care of them, so she could just focus on competing.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard more recently that Snoop is like that, but like, you know, he was like a Crip, like really, right? Like, you know, Crips and like, what's the other one? The red and the blue,
Bloods.
the Bloods,
Republicans
the
and
Crips.
Democrats.
Well, yeah, and you know, if you're talking about the South Park reference, you're talking about the original Crips or the the other afterbirth cripples. You know.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But no, a lot of celebrities, hats off to Snoop. Snoop being like an underprivileged, person from California. There's all sorts of, stories that you hear about how he struggled, and Snoop very quietly behind the scenes goes through and he supports a lot of different youth organizations.
Yeah, he has a football league too, doesn't he? Didn't he make a football league or something?
He has a football league. He bankrolls a lot of scholarships for kids and just all sorts of like fantastic stuff that he does. So, hats off to Snoop for turning his life around.
Yeah, here, hey, Snoop, hats off to you, buddy. Ear Hustling Podcast looking for a sponsor, Snoop.
Round of
applause for Snoop. Snoop
And
Dogg,
hey,
if you're listening, we accept sponsorships. Okay, we accept sponsorships.
I think that Snoop owns a dispensary too.
My guy. Medical.
I had actually got a call before this show started. Someone actually wanted to sponsor us. It was Diddy. He wanted to sponsor us, and
get your baby oil. I can read a baby oil ad if I need
Diddy. To. Like they say in what is it? Roman
Diddy did it.
No, what is that? Roman says no yeet, no Diddy.
Yeah. Diddy diddled quite a few. I think that's an issue. All right, what else do we got? Can we get off of Diddy and
I got a question for you guys. It's sports related. It's sports entertainment related. What do you all think about WWE SummerSlam going to 2 nights PLE? Do you guys like the 2-night events, Eric?
As long as they do it the way that they do WrestleMania, where it's going to be, solid matches from start to finish, I'm okay with that. If you're just going to have a bunch of bullshit filler in as matches, and then you're just going to have like 2 good matches, the main event on night 1 and the main event on night 2, then no, keep it at 1 night. But I would suspect with WWE expanding the way that they are, I think that Triple H, at least for the first year, is going to put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, let's be honest, it's a money grab. I mean, let's be honest, it's a money grab. So that's the first things first. But the other thing I want to point out too is, as you know, I'm a big AEW fan as well. And the one main complaint that I've heard, and I kind of do understand, did they just score to tie it with an empty net? They did. The one thing that I've complained about, and I've heard complaints about AEW, is that the pay-per-views are way too long. They're like sometimes 5, even pushing on like 6 hours. I'm serious. Like they're past like midnight sometimes when I'm watching them. So I don't hate the idea. I would rather split it up into 2 as opposed to having a 5-hour pay-per-view. I think that's a little much. I mean, it's good for wrestling. I mean, it's good for more talent. I like to see the competitive nature of the sports entertainment world, that there's more options than just the WWE, because, monopolies aren't good for anybody. So yeah, I'm okay with the 2-night thing, again, as long as it's quality stuff. Quality.
So I Mhm.
I'm sorry, Patrick. How much is an AEW pay-per-view? Because I haven't paid for an AEW pay-per-view. Matter of fact, I don't even pay for WWE pay-per-views. They're free on Peacock. How much does that
Um,
AEW pay-per-view cost?
um, well, so um, I think they're around like 40 or $50. I'm not exactly sure. Let's
He
just
he
say
doesn't pay the bill. He doesn't pay the bill.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. I'm not the one that pays the bill.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not I'm not really sure about that one. But
Next topic.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
next topic.
it's
So
not
I want
often
to.
that I'm stumbling around for words, but
It's
that one
not.
got me.
It really isn't. So
Yeah.
I got two more things, one for each of our teams. Patrick, I'm gonna come to you for this one, and Eric, I'll come to you about the Lions. Patrick, talk to us about this Amari Cooper trade. Good one for your Bills. I mean, they got they just had to give up a bag of potato chips for him. So what do you think?
Yeah, 100% the right move. I'm not saying that it was something that needed to happen, but it was getting close. I love the idea of freeing up Josh Allen. So I don't want to compare Amari Cooper to what Steph Diggs was to that team. It's two completely different avenues here. Um, you gotta be able to beat man coverage. I mean, that's just what it is. And in the first couple of games, our receivers have struggled to get open, have struggled to create separation, have struggled to stretch the field a little bit. We've struggled to kind of dictate to the defense what we're going to do, So it's kind of nice to have somebody that the defense is going to have to pay attention to. Because I mean, Amari Cooper is one of those guys that you got to pay attention to where he is on the field at all times. I know he's had some drops and some yips and stuff this year, but wouldn't you if you were in Cleveland? So I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. We got him for a bag of peanuts, a third and a seventh for Cooper and a sixth. And before the year, the Cleveland Browns restructured his salary. So he's making $1.2 million this year, which was already paid out, prorated. So it's going to cost the Bills a little over $800,000 for Amari Cooper this year, as opposed to, I believe, the $14.7 million of the Devontae Adams salary that the Jets just absorbed, because the Raiders took none of that salary. They dumped it all on the Jets books. So there was a lot of talk on sports media today about comparing Devontae Adams trade and the Amari Cooper trade. Which one was better? Which one would you rather have? The Bills didn't have the cap room to accommodate. I mean, the cap's not real, so I'm sure we could have made it work. But
the cap's not real.
well, I mean, it is real, but there's always a way to manipulate it. And I'm sure they could have made it work, but why? I mean, I'm really liking the idea of adding Amari Cooper to the team. Hey, we dropped Montez Valdez-Scantling. So if you look at it for 1-to-1, we lost MVS and we pick up Amari Cooper. That's a win.
MVS definitely sounds like a disease. So congratulations for losing that.
Got rid of that
Eric.
Yes,
Eric, unfortunately, our Detroit Lions, we picked up a major win, a big win this weekend, but we also suffered a really big loss with Aiden Hutchinson. When that happened, want to hear your thoughts. The first thing I did is I started texting a couple of people. I don't know if you were one of them, but I said we have to make the phone call for Hassan Reddick. I think that's just a smart thing to do. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Of course, everyone's talking about Max Crosby. As well as some other people. But what are your thoughts?
Man, how much I dislike the Dallas Cowboys. So I was happy they were stomping a mud hole in their backs and walking it dry. But damn, when I saw Aiden go down, I'm like, oh no. I mean, there's lots of things that I think we could overcome in terms of injuries. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be tough. The only way that I think that could have been worse if it was Jared Goff. I do think that the Lions are definitely going to miss him. They're definitely going to need to get in the pass rusher. The Lions, at the point of his injury, they had 15 sacks as a team, 7.5 were Aiden Hutchinson, and the other 7.5 was everybody else. Aiden Hutchinson had, I think, like close to 20% of our pressures, and I think he had like 25 or 30% of quarterback hits. So that's a huge hole. He's really, really unique. He's equally good in both the run and the pass. And even a guy like Crosby, he's a good pass rusher. He's decent against the run, but his main things is pass rushing. Aiden Hutchinson can do both. He can also go out into coverage if needed be, within like 5 to 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. But let's see what happens next week. We don't know what the Lions may have scheme-wise to possibly make up for the loss of Hutch. Luckily, it's not a career-ending injury. Obviously, he's going to miss the rest of this year. But, yeah, if we show next week, especially against a team like the Minnesota Vikings, that we lack a pass rush, then we definitely need to go out and get somebody before the trade deadline.
Well, speaking of the trade deadline, I'm going to mention a couple of things I've been seeing online, and I think I'm lagging again, so hopefully that's not too big of a deal. Patrick, quick thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's a rumored trade. What are your thoughts?
No!
I was going to say I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. It's just a rumor, right?
No!
Yeah, it's a rumor.
Son of a-
CBS Sports.
Damn it! Pittsburgh just scored. Son of a bitch. They scored in overtime.
Oh, so I guess that means
okay.
we lost.
So rumor D Hop to Kansas City. All right. So
Yes.
this feels like one of those keeping up with the Joneses. Like I have to cut my grass because my neighbor cut theirs. The Kansas City Chiefs looking at the Bills, looking at the Jets making move, even though the Jets are 2-4 and I can't see them making the playoffs. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I don't know. Just kind of keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, is D Hop too old? I don't know.
That I would have loved to see that 3-4 years ago. That would have been amazing. But all right, just a couple more quick ones. Eric, to you, Trey Lance to the Dolphins.
I've got so many thoughts about not necessarily Trey Lance, but just Tua even attempting to play football. I don't really think that moves the needle, to be honest. Trey Lance, I mean, let's be realistic. 2 years ago he was in San Francisco or 3 years ago he was in San Francisco as the quarterback of the future, and now he's over in Dallas. I think he's their number 3 over in Dallas. I don't think it really matters. I think the bigger story is Tua deciding that he wants to play. I think that's a dangerous situation for him. I don't think Tua should play, but I don't think that Trey Lance
wasn't part of the question, Eric.
No, but I'm just saying though.
He's a politician. He's not answering the question.
It all ties. I don't think that doesn't move the needle for Miami.
Okay.
It doesn't.
One more for each of you, Patrick. Your team, Von Miller to the Philadelphia Eagles.
You know what? I think it would be more beneficial to the Bills to hold on to Von than it would be to trade him. Yeah, I know he's suspended currently now. For a domestic violence thing, that there were no charges and that everything was dropped. So I don't really know about the details about that. But before he was suspended, I believe he had 3 sacks in 3 games. He seemed to kind of be rounding back into form as a third down pass rusher, situational type guy that we could count on third down, on obvious passing situations. I think he's more valuable than the 4th, 5th, 6th round pick we'd get for him.
And Eric, last one for you. Zadarius Smith to the Lions.
Why?
Well, we do need an edge. We just kind of had that conversation.
I don't know if Darius Smith.
He did just say you need to go out and get an edge, and then when you asked him about an edge, he didn't know.
I don't know if Darius Smith. He's suspect to me against the run. He's a good pass rusher. I don't think he would be a good fit for the Lions.
Okay.
I would rather have somebody I would rather have Myles Garrett, or I would rather have Crosby.
Of course, the asking price for both of those guys are going to be a lot higher than Zadarius Smith.
You're never going to get Crosby out of Vegas. You're never going to.
I'd say it's a Darius Smith. What value will he bring? If any. And I think he can. Even if it's just a plug and play for the rest of this year to compensate for the loss of Aiden. But I'd much rather do that than mortgage the future for Max Crosby. How old is Max?
27, 28, something like that.
He's been in the league for a minute, but he's still fairly young.
Yeah, I just think the asking price is just too steep. But I mean, on paper, on Madden, turn the salary cap off, it'd be great.
I've got a
Yeah.
question for you, James. How much are they asking for Smith? What are the terms there?
So what I am seeing is skimming. It does not. Fifth round pick. So potential compensation, fifth round pick, and this is an article written on CBS Sports by Cody Benjamin. It was written 9 hours ago.
CBS
Fifth
is
round?
usually pretty variable.
Fifth round pick. Okay. I still don't think he'd be a good fit, but I think he probably would be an upgrade. But again, I'm just anxious to see what happens with the Vikings versus the Lions, and then we can talk about that because that's definitely going to be a hell of a test for Detroit.
Yeah. Awesome. That's all I got, guys.
Minnesota and the Viking or Minnesota and Detroit are going to be a great game. Actually, I think segueing into a perfect topic. Are we going into picks? Is that what we're doing next?
Yeah. Why not?
You know what? Before we do that, we're going to talk about next week's show.
I'm sorry.
It's going to be no, that's fine. It's going to be an easy one. We're not having a show next week.
I was going to say, wait a second.
Yeah, we're off next week. So for those 7 listeners that Patrick mentioned as watching, one of which is Pat McAfee, the other is Diddy, and the other is Snoop. Those 3.
Right.
Shay is out there. So that's 4. I don't know the other 3, but y'all 7, we will not be here next week, but we are looking to return on the 30th, October 30th, sorry. And picks. Soleil Sexy Picks by Patrick.
So late. Do I get a full for this, or do I get? Am I just the third? Okay.
You know what? No, actually, Patrick. We can still do this, but we were gonna do this day in history. Then you were just gonna do picks. Then you was gonna go to your spitball. But if you want to do yours,
wow.
Means,
I mean, no. I want to do it. I want to do it now. Okay.
Do you, sir?
Do you?
Give me my full. Give me my thank you. Thank you. See, look at this, Bills. Look at this Bills Mafia cave here for us, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this is no longer Soleil's Sexy Picks. This is the Triple P, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick's Perfect Picks. All right. Patrick's Perfect Picks here, brought to you by the Bills Mafia. All right. We're going to get right into this. So I was told that I needed to take a couple of picks as well as an underdog pick. So I've got 3 NFL picks as well as an underdog pick that I'm going with. I'm not really very good outside of the NFL. So we're going to start with this one. All right. We're going to start with a Sunday night football game. Sunday, 8:20. We have the New York Jets visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, the Jets are favored by 2 points, and I am taking the Jets over Pittsburgh on the road. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams reunited, and it feels so good. All right. They're not going to be playing the Renegade song in the fourth quarter this game. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, all those guys going to take home the victory in Pittsburgh this week. All right. Next one we're going to, and I want to check my notes here. Okay, next one, we're going to Cleveland. All right, Cleveland. Now, who the hell wants to go to Cleveland to begin with anyways? All right, so we're going to Cleveland. The Cincinnati Bengals are forced to go to Cleveland because nobody wants to go to Cleveland. Did you see when Amari Cooper talked about how bad it was in Cleveland at his press conference here today? It was crazy. So anyways, the Cincinnati Bengals are favored by 5.5 points. I'm taking the Bengals. Even though they've been lackluster this year, Zach Moss running game, you got to get Jamar Chase, T. Higgins going, Joey B, the new Eminem wannabe with his hair the way he is, going to get it rolling in Cleveland. Again, no one wants to go to Cleveland, but Cincinnati has to. They're going to win in Cleveland. All right. Now, I believe this is the only home team that I'm taking this week. I believe this is the, let me just double check that. But yeah, I believe so. Okay, so we're going with a home team here. Now, obviously, we're taking the home Buffalo Bills. Okay, home Buffalo Bills over the lackluster Tennessee Titans. with Will Levis at quarterback. I believe it's Pollard and Tajay Spears potentially at running back. D-Hop, we just talked about him being old and decrepit. So the Bills are favored by a whopping 9 points. All right, so I'm taking the Bills at home Sunday, 1 o'clock start time. That's what I'm going at there. Now, I need to think about this last one. Now, here's my underdog pick of the week. All right, it's going to be a close one. I was actually surprised that this team is underdogs. I think it has a lot to do with not only being on the road, but the loss of Aiden Hutchinson, man. Aiden Hutchinson's going to hurt this team, but I still do think they have enough grit. All right. I'm going to take them. I'm going to be your hometown homers this week for my Michigan fans in the house. They are a 1.5 point underdog in Minnesota. I am taking the Detroit Lions to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Until next time.
Awesome. All right, Eric, what happened this day in your history? I mean, in history.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. You know what?
He got neutered.
I was going to actually go with something. I was going to go with something else, but because you want to go ahead and crack jokes, I've got something good for you. In the year 1897, the University of Michigan and the Ohio State Buckeyes played their very first game. The Michigan Wolverines won 34-0.
1897?
1897.
God, how old were you? 12?
No, I think I was like 14.
He wasn't that close to puberty.
Oh, God.
Another thing
I'm waiting for certain things to drop.
And one other thing that happened that was significant in history, in 1978, Pope John Paul II became the 263rd successor in the Roman Catholic Church to become elected Pope.
263rd.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how they decide the Pope, by putting like the white smoke up the chimney and shit?
That's when they made the decision.
That's when they make the decision.
Yeah.
I think it's a different color when the Pope dies, and then it's white when they name a successor.
See, I'm educated. I know what's up.
Hey,
Very
you
nice.
are an educator.
I mean, that white smoke could be something else. But
it depends if you're in this garage or not.
And I heard that the current Pope actually does endorse the smoking of marijuana. No, I'm kidding.
He should. It's helpful. He should.
Let me not lie on the Pope. I mean, it's already bad
enough. We're down here in Florida. We're voting on recreational marijuana on the ballot this November.
Hopefully your governor can start smoking too, so he can make better decisions.
Hey, man.
Speaking of drugs.
Good segue. Good segue.
Speaking of drugs, today, not sports related, Demetrius Flaherty was released from federal jail. If for anyone that knows who he is, but that's Big Meech from the world-renowned Black Mafia family. You got stars, Patrick, or at least access to stars? Check with Michelle.
Yes, I will ask the bill payer if I have stars.
Yes. Check out a show called BMF. It's a real story. It's about a organized group of young men in the Detroit area. Wonderful show. But BMF, Black Mafia family.
A bad motherfucker. Is that what that is? Like the BMF
Black Mafia family.
That was my second guess.
Oh no, it wasn't. That was not your second
it really
guess.
wasn't. Well, he was, just give you a quick history, Patrick. Demetrius Flaherty is one of the founding members. He was went to jail in 2005, sentenced in 2008, 30 years. Was just released today to a halfway house to finish out his sentence. Don't really know how much time he has to spend there, whatever, but that's kind of a big deal.
Huh.
And something that I found out today, that the actor that plays Big Meech is actually Big Meech's son.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Johnny had to inform me of that today. I was like, damn, that's his like biological son. Like, sure.
Biological son, Little Meech. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, sure is. But anyway, all right. Patrick, you got something you want to share?
I get a full screen twice in one show. What the hell are you guys thinking? All right. So listen, this has been a good show. All right. So I'm about to ruin it. No, not really. We have got to talk. We can't talk about sports. All right. All show without having somebody bitch about the NFL officiating crews. Okay. What in the hell is roughing the passer? Okay. Because what I saw, especially in the Monday Night Football game against the Bills, the Jets, was AJ hitting him, trying to strip the ball, and then like literally just placing him on the ground. He went to his knees first before he fell on top of Rodgers, and he gets a roughing the passer call. Even Aaron Rodgers was saying that wasn't a roughing the passer call. What in the hell is wrong with this NFL officiating crew? First of all, most of them I've heard are supposed to be lawyers. They're supposed to be intelligent. So what are you doing throwing over 22 accepted penalties, had over 200 accepted yards in penalties? That's just the accepted ones. You weren't even talking about the ones that were offsetting or the ones that were so egregious that I just blows my mind. And it's not just the Bills games, right? You may think I'm a homer, and I am, all right? But I'm going to tell you something. I have noticed it across the board, all right? These NFL officials, aren't they supposed to be full-time too? Like some of these officials where I thought were brought on full-time, I don't know what the hell is happening. The only thing that I have to say about this, and this is absolutely a must, okay? This must happen, all right? I live in Central Florida, all right? So I live in an area where there are many, many wonderful retired people, all right? What I'm going to suggest is that the NFL officiating crew send all of their officials right down here to the middle of the Central Florida, all right, and hang out in the villages with all of my elderly, wonderful people. I'm not saying that they're bad people, but it's time for them to resign. It's time for them to get out of there. It's time for somebody under the freaking age of 65 that doesn't have trifocals, all right, officiating our football games. Good God, I'm done.
Well,
Man, that's all we had to do.
Oh, oh
damn.
man. It's like I'm all like, ha.
I thought that was the mic drop. I thought he was gone. I thought we was going to go to 2 screens.
But come on, dude. NFL officiating? Come on. I ain't lying.
Well, you know, by spitball being just something that you have, you know what?
I mean, how,
I vowed not
it's
to respond. So
yeah,
it's
me
definitely worth bitching about because somebody has to. All right, and that's all I've got to say about that. All right, are we done here?
we are done here, and you heard it from Patrick's hairspray to your ears.
I'm trying to get
Thanks
it
for
in
tuning
frame.
in, everyone. See you in a couple weeks.
Woo!